I hope everyone's doing great tonight. Thank you for taking the time to do this with us. I promise we won't take up too much time, but I'd like to fit in as much information as possible into this hour-long seminar. And even after the slides are completed and we go through the majority of the information we want to share, I'll stick around for a bit to answer any questions that anyone may have about investing in real estate. Anyone have any questions before we get started? Kind of do a little open forum here in the beginning if you want to introduce yourself and ask any questions.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dom Ferguson. I'm actually a real estate agent on the William Holder Realty team. So I'm here participating with everyone, looking to learn as well. So that's me.
Thank you, Dom. I'll give it a couple more minutes. We'll get started at 7:35. I want to give everyone a chance to get in. I know we had about 18 people that signed up for this, so the more the merrier. And just so you guys know, we're doing a seminar as a team. We do it once a month, mostly through Zoom. Eventually, as COVID kind of dissipates, eventually we'll have some of these in person. But prior to COVID, I did an in-person seminar. We had 40 people show up that were investors, and it was a great seminar. I'd love to do more of those. But for now, we're sticking with the Zoom seminars, just keeping it as accessible for people as possible. And we do a monthly seminar. Not all of them are investors. Some are for home buyers, some are for home sellers, and and for investors as well, because our team works with all different types of real estate transactions. So if you ever have anyone that's interested in buying or selling, please invite them to one of our seminars, or investing as well. We're always happy to help. So I'm going to get started here. I know it's coming up in about 7:35, so I'm just going to jump right in. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Feel free to type it in the notes section, and we can circle back to it. Or if you want to stop me and ask a specific question, happy to answer any questions, and we'll circle back in the end. The seminar is mostly going to be me, or as well as Kirk from our team will be doing a deep dive into one of his deals that he's recently done. As I stated, we're a very investor-friendly real estate team. We all try to invest in real estate in one way or another. I'm heavily invested in real estate, and so are some of the agents on the team. We work with a ton of investors that either flip, buy and hold, do BRRRRs, do vacation style rentals. We kind of help people on all different aspects of real estate transactions, house hacks, 203Ks. So we're going to get into some of these things today, but we have way more. I mean, it would take hours to go over all the different types of investments you can get into as a real estate investor. So we're going to stick to the kind of major ones tonight. And, as these seminars go on, maybe we can touch on some other things as well. So I'm going to jump in here and share my screen. All right, so as I stated, we're the William Holder Real Estate team. The best experienced investors also make great realtors. That's something we wanted to share. Who are we? We specialize in real estate in all different price points, investing, selling, renting from, we work with tenants, landlords, homeowners, home buyers, home sellers, large 10, 20 unit buildings, luxury sales, commercial sales. We pretty much do it all. I'm always happy to help in all aspects, but we're going to focus on investing tonight. A lot of people wonder, is it in your best interest to work with a realtor when you are becoming an investor? Why wouldn't you do it on your own? Why wouldn't you become a realtor? There's plenty of questions, and the only person that can really answer those questions for you are yourself. But you have to look at the type of team you're trying to build. If, I like to start off by saying there's no such thing as no money real estate investing. All right. If anyone ever tries to sell you a seminar that says you can invest in real estate with no cash, just don't waste your money, right? You're better off spending that money on actually investing in real estate. That's a lie. What they're trying to teach you is how to source funds from private investors. All they're saying is borrow the money from someone else, right? And they have you spend $10,000 for a seminar to teach you that. There is really no way of getting into real estate investing without having some money to work with. It doesn't have to be your money. It could be money that's funded from friends, family members, your spouse, whatever the case is. But you do need money, and the more money you have, the easier it becomes, because the less or the more risks you're able to take with more money to work with. So there are some forms of investing you could do, such as trying to become a wholesaler that don't require a ton of money to get started, but they do require a ton of time, and time is money. So if it's not your full-time job, you are going to need some money to get started, and you are going to need a team, right? You have to decide what their team looks like. If you are working a full-time job to fund your investment activities, then you need to continue to do that. You can't do everything yourself, right? There are people that try to do everything themselves, and they tend to get lost in everything they're doing, right? So, you can't be the person finding the deal and sourcing the deal and, finding the financing and doing the contracts and closing on the deal and pulling the permits and doing all of the work. I mean, at that point, the amount of time you put into that transaction is not going to be worth the profit you make off of it. So generally, you need to put together an appropriate team to put together an appropriate team so that you can invest in real estate. Now, a lot of people work with realtors because if you tell the realtor, hey, here are my criteria, here's what I'm looking for, can you help me find a deal? That realtor, that's their job. That's what they're spending their day doing. And especially if they're an investor-friendly real estate agent that invests, that also, that invests in real estate, they'll know exactly what to do for you, exactly what to look for, and they'll take a lot of searching off the plate. Also, if they're an experienced realtor, they probably have sources to refer to you. They can probably refer inspectors, contractors, hard money lenders. If they've invested already, they have a lot of the tools you need to build your team in place, and they can certainly help you with those things. All right. The other thing is a good real estate agent understands the after repair value of a property, and they understand why it's important to share that accurately with you as the investor, because they know if they're going too high on the after repair value, they're not working in your best interest. A good realtor will keep you grounded, and they'll be honest with you with the facts. So, it's, in my opinion, the best way to work is have a team, and part of that team could be a real estate agent. But again, it's up to you. I know a lot of people that decided they wanted to get their own real estate license and be their realtor. I don't know if it necessarily worked out for them, but that's another route you can take as well. All right. The things to understand with an experienced realtor is they understand what a scope of work looks like, what a renovation budget looks like, what certain issues could come up that can cost you the deal. They have contractor connections. They have supplier connections. They come up with the appraisal accuracy, that ARV. They'll help you go all the way through the transaction without potentially losing too much money by making a poor investment choice. So, working with an experienced realtor can be a large benefit to you as an investor. And that's why I certainly always suggest, if you are going to become an investor, adding an experienced, investor-friendly realtor to your team is a huge bonus. All right, now let's get into the different types of investments you can do as a real estate investor. All right, this is what a lot of people are hearing about. You're listening to Bigger Pockets. You're listening to all of the different, you're seeing all these different social media platforms. All of these people are investing in real estate, and you want to know how to do it, right? There are really, the main types of investing are flips, which a flip is a way to make income. However, it's not a means to an end, all right? Unless you plan on starting a flipping company, flips aren't going to get you to what is the goal for most of us, is an early retirement. Flips are going to provide you with income if you do them correctly, but they're not consistent passive income. They're active income. You need to be actively searching for deals. You need to be actively involved in the transaction. So, if you're looking for a flip and a lot of people get started by doing a flip to get extra money to invest in real estate, that's fine. But your flip isn't your retirement plan. Your flip is, this is how I make some extra money to either invest more in real estate or to add to my real estate portfolio by buying rentals with the profit from flips. Things to remember with flips are, you're paying capital gains on the earnings. So, a lot of people think you can make a ton of money doing a flip. I would say the percentage you earn is really a percentage, and it's scalable. You're normally not going to make a large chunk on a smaller flip. You can make a bigger profit on a bigger flip, but you're taking more risk, right? So understand that when you do a flip, most investors are making $10,000 to $30,000 on your average flip. All right, and after they pay taxes on that, which could be 30%, you're really only making $7,000 to $20,000. So understand that if you're looking at flips, they are a way to get income right off the bat, after completing the process. But a flip generally takes 3 to 9 months, probably closer to 9 months, from the time you find the property to get it under contract, to close on it, to finish the renovations, to put it back on the market, to go through that process and get it sold. You're in that 6 to 9 month range. So unless you're doing a lot of flips, unless you're doing them consistently, it's not necessarily a way to fund a living unless it becomes a full-time thing for you. The other thing are rentals. So there are multiple ways to invest in rentals. You can either be a passive rental investor where you're putting 25% down when you purchase the rental, either be turnkey or in good shape, and you're going to a commercial lender or a regular residential lender and saying, I want to buy this property. They're going to want you to put 25% down plus closing costs. And then you collect your rents on that property and you manage it and you maintain it. There's another way of doing rentals, which is called the Bur Method, which we're going to get into further. But that's basically an acronym for buy, rent, or buy, renovate, rent, and refinance. And we'll get into that a little bit further. And that's a bit more active of a way to buy rental properties. It's another version of rental investments. You can become a wholesaler. Wholesalers are essentially those cards you get in the mail that say, I'll buy your house cash, or we want to buy your house, we need homes, all of that stuff. Those are wholesalers. Generally, they're not planning on buying your home. Generally, what a wholesaler is doing is they're saying to you, your house is worth X, even though they know your house is worth Y. When they get you to agree to sell their house to you, or your house to them for X, they're reaching out to a list of investors and they're saying, I have this house for X and I'm selling it for Y. And that Y is usually even still at a deal. So they're making up the difference in the middle and making a profit. All right. They normally never actually close on the property. The person they sell it to closes on the property. and they get the fee in the middle they're earning, right? If you want to scale up a wholesaling business, it can be highly successful, but it requires a ton of hard mailers and inside call people and follow up with leads. It is a business in itself, and it is a version of investing as well. Vacation rentals. A lot of people are getting into Airbnb, VRBO. There are many ways to buy a vacation rental. You can either buy it the traditional way, which is putting 25% down, buying a fixed up shore house or a Pocono house and renting it out that way. Or if you are buying it as your second home, you're going to a bank and saying, this is going to be my second home in my name, not my LLC. They will let you buy it with 10% down. So you can buy, a $500,000 Pocono house or shore house for $50,000 plus closing costs, and you can immediately start Airbnb-ing it. We know how profitable they can be if they're run well, and if they're run well, and that's really the biggest thing, is running them well. Commercial rentals, it's another sphere we'll get into. Not really going to jump in too far into that tonight, but commercial rentals can be really profitable and really easy. You see like a Sunoco or some of these locations, and you at like a shopping center, you're like, why would anyone want that headache? Actually, it's really not that big of a headache. If you own that space, you can do what's called a triple net lease, which is the tenant is responsible for everything. They're responsible for the maintenance, the taxes. They're responsible for literally everything. They're just renting that a lot from you with the building on top of it. So commercial rentals can be really attractive if you have enough money to play in that game. Lot rentals are like trailer parks, things of that nature. A lot of people are buying trailer parks and doing lot rentals. You have storage properties, you have glamping. Some of these things, glamping is like glamorous camping, where you put a nice RV somewhere and put a fire pit, and you call it glamorous camping. So these are some of the sources of real estate investing. The two we're really going to pay attention to tonight are flips and rentals. I'm happy to speak about the rest, either after the hour or at a different time if you're ever interested, but we'll start with the two major types, which is what most people do, which are flips and rentals. So flips, right? You do pay capital gains on a flip profit. A lot of investors ask me, can I 1031 exchange the profit I make from a flip into another property? And the answer is no. I've checked with a ton of accountants. I haven't found someone that's given me an option to do that. And unfortunately, the answer is no. Most flips, you're going to a hard money lender or a commercial lender, and you're saying, I have a property, I locked it up with an agreement of sale, my realtor found it for me, or I found it for myself. I need funding for this. Most hard money or commercial lenders will do fix and flip loans where they lend you 70 to 80% of the purchase price and 100% of the renovation costs. And that's a good way to get into the game if you want to start small enough. Again, this goes back to where I spoke about there's really no such thing as no money down investing. You can get that down payment from a private lender. You can do a separate loan, a separate note. It's not like when you're buying your home, they're checking where every dime is coming from. Commercial lenders don't check for that stuff. So you can get that money from a third source, right? These are things that you can get creative with. That's something I do as well. When I flip a property, I use private lenders to borrow the funds to do the flip. It helps you accelerate your flips. You can do 2 or 3 at a time. It helps you invest in more properties. So there are ways to get creative by using other people's money, essentially. And it's a great source for speeding up your investments. Are you giving away some of your profit? Sure. But without that money, you wouldn't have had the opportunity for the profit. So there are plenty of ways to structure a flip. I would say the minimum capital investment you need, either from yourself or from a third party, is around $30,000. The more you have, the better. But generally, if you're not working, even if you're buying a property for $80,000, $100,000, you're going to need 20 to 30% down payment plus closing costs, plus your holding costs and all of those things, which we'll get into. All right. So in terms of what goes into a flip, you have your purchase costs, which are your lender's fee, which is usually 1 to 3% of the loan amount, title insurance, transfer taxes, appraisals, broker fees, tax and insurance escrows, estimated on a list price of 110, you're somewhere around 7,500. And these are just estimates based on this example here. Your renovation budget, so whatever your estimate your contractor gave you for your renovation, always factor 10% more than the contractor gave you as the bid, because somehow it always ends up costing more. They're never spot on with their estimates. Holding costs throughout a flip, you have a mortgage payment, you have so if you're holding the property for 6 to 9 months, you have 6 mortgage payments, which are usually interest only. You have insurance, you have property taxes, you have utilities. These are things you factor in when you're holding a property and flipping it. And then your selling costs. What are you paying in commissions to sell it? You have to pay another transfer tax. You have to do a use and occupancy certificate on the back end. So there are a lot of factors that go into how you want to evaluate and purchase a flip. And these are the main things. If you want to do a quick evaluation on, is this property worth me looking into and doing a flip on, these are the main things you would look at. And we'll do an example of this here. So I'm gonna let Kirk jump in. This Kirk Bazile. He's one of the agents on teams. This is a flip he recently did. He put together a list of his numbers, and I want him to run through this real quick.
Thanks, Will. All right, so like Will said, this is a deal we just did with one of our investors. So I actually had a client. She was looking to sell her home. It was a 4-bedroom, 1-bath row home in like the Upper Darby Lansdowne area. She didn't want to put it on the market. She didn't want multiple people walking in and out of her house. So she just said, I just want $60,000 for it as is. Ran the numbers on the house, what it would be worth all fixed up. That's what the ARV is. The ARV is $170,000 on this one. So I had a client that I knew invest in that area, showed him the property. He came up with a rental budget of about $40,000 to get it to be worth that $170,000. Like Will said, he didn't use his own money. He went and got, to finance the purchase, he went and got a hard money loan for about $97,500. The cost for him to do that loan was $20,000, and he purchased it in December. It took him 3 months to complete the rehab. Actually had it sold the following month. I had a buyer lined up for it. He ended up selling it for $173,000. Now that's not all profit, because we got to take away that $20,000 he brought to the table.
Mm-hmm.
The loan, which was $97,500, with interest, ended up being about $5,800. So he owed $103,000 for the loan, $20,000 he brought to the table, and then selling the closing costs, which were the realtor fees, the taxes, were about $13,500. So his estimated profit on that one was $36,000. And that was in 4 months, he made $36,000. He's a seasoned investor, so he knew exactly what he was doing, but these are the kind of deals that we're finding for our investors.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, Will.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Kirk. Thank you for sharing that deal. We have plenty of deals like this we can go through and break down really this simply. And when you're trying to find the flip, it takes a lot of weeding through deals. So you want a quick way to evaluate the deal to know if it moves to the next phase of your process, or if you put it to the side and move on. And doing a quick evaluation like this really helps. So I'm happy to dive into more flip options and go over some of those with you in the future, or after this seminar, but let's talk about rentals. So there are plenty of ways to buy rentals. If you are a passive turnkey rental investor, rentals are a strong investment because if you have a significant amount of cash and you're looking for somewhere safe to put it, buying a piece of property is a very safe place to put your money, right? Even in the worst downfall in 2008, when markets dipped 15 to 20%, they've come back. They've since come back even significantly stronger. So much more than a lot of other investments like the real estate market or like the stock market, or, you know, not to not to make light of it, but NFTs and some of these newer forms of investments, crypto, that are newer investment types. Real estate has been around forever. It's what's made the most millionaires of all time, right? It's a proven strategy. So if you want to put your money somewhere safe, you can get a turnkey rental, put 25% down and get a property manager and sit back and collect profit. Property takes care of itself. You put aside 5% for vacancies, 5% for capital expenditures, 7 to 10% for a property manager, and you pay your principal and interest, taxes and insurance, and you take your profit. Most turnkey investors are looking, or most rental investors are looking for $200 per door after all of that is said and done. A lot of people per month, per door per month. A lot of people see that number and they're like, why would I do all of that for $200 per door per month? And the answer is it's a good return. When you really look at the numbers, it is a good return. And the property's taking care of itself, right? Now, the quicker way to scale that is to do the Bur Method, which is to buy, renovate, rent, and refinance. This has become hyper popular in the last few years because of forums such as Bigger Pockets and all of these podcasts and investor books and gurus out there. Now, people have been doing this forever. Since there's been mortgages, people have been doing the Bur Method in one size or another, right? You can do this on your own home. You can be living in your home currently. You can renovate that home. You can refinance and take the money back out of the home using the new value because you've put money into it, and you get your money back. You're just doing that with a rental, right? So the Bur Method is find a property that has equity. You're not looking for a turnkey investment. You're looking for a property that has equity. It's a fixer-upper. Or if you scale it up to a larger building, like a 10 unit or a 20 unit, I mean, this process can be used on any size building. So the math is a little bit different when you go over 4 units because it becomes commercial and you have cap rates instead of comps. But on a simple scale, so this is an example of a property I purchased in 2018. The list price for the property was $35,000. I knew based on, this is in Southwest Philadelphia, I knew based on at the time that the comps were $100,000 fixed up. The house needed a good amount of work. And I also knew that it would rent for about $1,100 a month. So how you properly evaluate a Bur is you back into it. You start at the end and you work your way back, right? At the end, you know you're gonna make $1,100 a month and the property is gonna be worth $100,000, right? With that $1,100, does it cover your mortgage payment, the principal and interest, based on 75% of your ARV? Because that's going to be the loan you can take out on this property when it's said and done. So when you do the calculation based on a 25-year amortization calculator for a commercial loan at the going interest rate, what's the principal and interest payment? What are the taxes? What are the insurance? After you take all of those out of the payment and you put aside 20% for your CapEx, your vacancies, and your property management, what is your walkaway? If it's $200 a month, that deal is worth looking into further. If it's significantly less, you might want to move on. If it's somewhere in the middle, you might want to consider it. If it's more, it's a great deal. So it's a quick way to start the Bur calculation. What's it going to look like at the end? Do I want to do this deal? If the answer is yes, you make your offer based on your calculations. Your calculations are, what are my closing costs? So again, it's the same stuff: lender fees, title insurance, transfer tax, appraisal, broker fee, tax and insurance escrows. Your closing costs, what are they going to come up to? Your realtor can give you an estimate for that. Your renovation budget, you should have your contractor walk the property or take videos when you're there and share them with your contractor so that they could give you a quick estimate, and then estimate over that 10% so that you know you have enough in your renovation budget. What are your holding costs? What's your mortgage payment? What's the interest, the property tax, the utilities? And what's it going to cost you to rent it, right? So when you add all of these costs up, included with your purchase price, you don't want to be over 75% of your after repair value. You can leave some money in the transaction for the right deal, but in a perfect Bur, you get all of your money back out, right? There's multiple plays here. One, you're getting your money back out so you can start over and do it again. So that $200 a month in profit can now become $400 by adding a second property, or $800 by adding a 4-unit, right? You're using the same money over and over again to continually grow your empire. The benefits of the Bur is you can scale more quickly, you can recycle the money, you are adding equity to your business. And that's a big thing to think about. When you think about it, you now own a property that's worth $100,000 and you only owe $75,000 on it. So you have $25,000 in equity. Your net worth has just gone up $25,000, right? From a $0 investment because you've taken your money back out of it, right? You also get the tax benefits of having a rental property. You can depreciate a rental property for 27 years, right? So these are all of the benefits of having a rental, and you can do it either by the passive method, which is the turnkey, or the Bur method. Now, I know the Bur method sounds great, but it's way more involved. You have to do a renovation project. There's a lot more work involved. So that's why it's harder and less people do it. Any questions about flips or rentals or Burs before I get into some creative financing methods? No one? Okay. All right. So there are some other means of investing in real estate. Doesn't have to be a hard money lender. It doesn't have to be a fix and flip loan. It doesn't have to be a Bur. If you are a buyer and you don't have a mortgage currently, you can do what's called house hacking, right? House hacking is a means of purchasing a property using your personal residential credit to finance the property. You can buy a property using an FHA loan, a conventional loan, or an FHA 203K, which is a fixer-upper loan, right? This property is not under an LLC, it's under your own name. You are buying the property with the intention of living in it and using your residential financing to purchase that property. A lot of you know FHA loans only require 3.5% down. So if you found a fixer-upper that, let's say for this example, the property that was being sold for $160 as is, we used a 203K FHA loan, only required 3.5% down. And we also got a seller's assist. You can get up to a 6% seller's assist to cover your closing costs. And it can't cover your down payment, but you can cover your closing costs. So really, we came to the table with just 3.5%. We bought this property using an FHA loan, knowing FHA 203K, knowing the renovation budget is going to be $165,000, knowing we're financing that amount into the loan. And at the end, the ARV actually ended up being $550 because the project took long enough, and the value went up in the neighborhood because a few homes sold and the cap got better. Well, at the end, given we only owed $412,500, there was actually a return in the equity. You actually made a profit on it. Now, with deals like this, with house hacking, the play is that you're living in one of the units, right? If you go with an FHA loan, you're required to live there for 12 months. Not that any lender is really checking, and that's a hint that most lenders don't check. They're not driving by to see if you're living in your property. But a lot of people I know, especially in this market with how difficult it is to be an investor or just a home owner in this market, if the rates are going up and they're pricing you out of buying a home, buy a multi-unit property. you can buy up to a 4-unit property using an FHA loan or a conventional loan with a little more down. But you can buy up to a 4-unit property using an FHA loan, live in one of the units, and have the rent pay for rent from the other 3 units or 2 units, pay for your expenses, pay your mortgage, pay your holding and your repairs, and live for free. This is a great way to get into becoming an investor. You're looking for a very cheap, low down payment way to start your investing journey. Go from a renter to a homeowner or an investor. Using an FHA loan is a huge benefit. And it could be a 5% down conventional loan. I would recommend this to all of my clients. It's what I wish I did when I first bought my first house. It's what I think a lot of people should do, because the rates going up as high as they are and prices going up as high as they are, becoming a homeowner is becoming more and more difficult, and you have to get creative. All right, now the pros and cons to using an FHA loan to become an investor. Pros are some of the things we just went over. You only have to put 3.5% down. The interest rates are solid. Seller can pay up to 6% of your closing costs. There's an added layer of protection when you're using a 203K. There's generally a draw consultant that makes sure your contractor is doing some of the work before they give money out. Cons are you do have to pay mortgage insurance, which can be pricey. And anytime you don't put 20% down, you have to pay what's called PMI, or mortgage insurance, or MI. Your profit margins are generally slimmer. It's a slower process. You do need good credit. Although a lot of FHA lenders are approving people from 580 to 680. So, the higher your score, the better. But you can get an FHA loan with a lot of lenders right now with a 580 credit score. And one of the other negatives is you can't have more than one FHA loan at a time. A lot of people think you can only have one FHA loan ever. That's not true. You just can't have more than one at a time. So, if you purchase the property, you buy FHA, you can't move out of it and go buy another house FHA. You'd either have to sell that property, or you buy your next house with a conventional mortgage. All right. And then, to kind of give you some more tips, the more you can learn, the better. The majority of what I've learned as being an investor and a realtor is from seminars, meetups, coffee with other investors, podcasts, books, YouTubes. There's so much free information out there. Don't pay for anything, right? There's so much free information when it comes to being an investor out there. You're better off using your money actually investing than paying for someone to teach you how to invest. So learn as much as you can, but don't let the knowledge or the learning part get you stuck in analysis paralysis. Get a play on how you're going to invest, figure out how much money you have to work with, figure out an area you want to invest in, put your team together and go do it, right? The investors I work with, we have them starting, we put all these things in place, and once they're ready, we're making 2 to 3 offers a week until we find the right property. And the reason we have to do that is because I'm not making offers based on what the seller is asking. I'm not making offers based on what the listing agent is asking. I'm not making offers based on how hot the market is. We're making offers based on your numbers. You're telling me you want to make a $20,000 profit on a flip. I'm evaluating that deal and making the offer based on that. And usually that's below asking price, right? And that takes some time to find someone or find the right deal. So it does take patience. All right. So, I appreciate everyone joining today. We're always happy to help investors in any way we can. Feel free to reach out to us, WilliamHolderRealty.com. This is our number, 484-744-4053, or email any of us on the team. I'll put our information in the comments section so that you have that. And we're always here and happy to help. So I will stop talking now and open it up for questions. Any questions? Anyone see anything interesting or just wanting general information?
Hey, Will, this is Kalen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, cool. So you were talking about the FHA, using a 203 FHA loan. Say you were buying your first property, and say it was, for example, a duplex, quadplex, it's multi-unit building. Would you recommend the 3.5% down, or would you recommend more if you're thinking about keeping that investment for a long time?
Personally, it really comes down to your individual situation, right? If this is your first investment and you can get away with only putting 3.5% down, and you can get away with a full seller's assist, I would rather do that. And as long as the property is cash flowing, as long as the rents are paying the mortgage, paying the taxes, paying the insurance, you know, you have enough in reserves after all of that to cover your expenses, then to me, there's no downside to putting as little down as possible, right? You could use your money. You have to think about it this way. Where is your money better spent? Is it better spent parked in that building by putting 5 or 10 or 20% down? Or is it better spent putting 3.5% down and taking that cash and reinvesting it somewhere else? And, you know, for me, the more money you have to play with, or the more plays you can do with your money, the better off you can be.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, this is something I recommend to everyone, my young clients, older, whoever they are. If they're open to it and they're willing to buy a multi-unit and live in one of the units, and, you know, your situation allows for it, you should certainly do it. Because if you only, let's say you live there for 4 months and you absolutely hate it, move out and rent the unit and buy the house you want to live in. Now you have a duplex that's cash flowing, right? And you put little to none down, 3.5%, you know, and there are grants right now, like there's the KFIT program, KFIT, that you're allowed to buy up to a 2-unit building with. And you do have to have a little bit better credit score. I think you have to be over a 660. And there are some income requirements, but you can buy a 2-unit building saying you're going to live in one of the units and get up to a 5% assist. So between the assist and between your down and your seller's assist, you can move into that building with no money out of your own pocket. And, you know, 6 months down the line, a year down the line, you're like, you know what, co-living space isn't for me. I'm going to go buy my own house. You move out and you keep that building, you know, and now that building becomes a tax write-off. It becomes an income source for you. You know, it's a future investment. You know, it's a seed you've planted that's going to continue to bear fruit. So that's a huge, if you can do that, if you can do that, that's the way to go, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions?
Hey, Will, Nate, how you doing today?
Hey, good, Nate. How you been?
I'm good. This is a question I got. The contractors, I think that's the hardest part, to find a good contractor.
Yeah.
How can you assist with that?
Oh, man, that's the age-old question of investing in real estate. I'm probably the last person you ever want to talk to about contractors, because I'll rant for days on how much I don't like them.
Right.
You know, they are, you know, without bashing them too much, they're the worst businessmen on the face of the planet. And I'm not saying that to be unfair. I've just been burned by so many contractors that I can say that. I've earned the right to say that. You know, so if you can find a great contractor, stick with them. The problem is great contractors are expensive, right? And generally when you are an investor, you're not looking for the great guy. You're not looking for the expensive guy. You're looking for that needle in the haystack. You're looking for the guy that's there. There's all of these contractors down here that decided they want to swing a hammer, and they went out and got their insurance and their licenses, and, you know, they're telling everyone they do all of this work when they've done one project maybe. And a few of them actually rise up a little bit and actually do good work. And you're looking for that guy. You're not looking for the one that's super established, because they're going to be expensive and they're going to cost a lot of money. Yes, you'll get great results, but generally that doesn't provide margins, right? If the contractor's expensive, there goes your profit, right? 9 out of 10 times, I'd rather hire an expensive contractor and make less money than hire that guy that's 9 out of 10 times going to screw me, which is the guy that's down here. Right.
Right.
And I've been down here. It's no fun. Like when you're telling your contractor how to do the job, it becomes a nightmare. Right. So this is a really tricky one. And there's a million different opinions on this. The only thing I've seen that really makes a big difference is putting your homework into the contractor. Vet them like you vet a property. So ask for referrals, call as many of their past clients as possible. See if they have an online presence. Make sure they've been in business for at least 5 years, right? You don't want the brand new contractor. Brand new contractors make mistakes. You know, I use this analogy all the time, but it's like when you're picking a realtor or you're picking a doctor. I don't want the doctor fresh out of med school. I want the guy that's done it 500 times, right? So you want the contractor that's been around, that has a presence, that people are referring to you directly, that say good things about them, that you can see good reviews, they care about their business name, but not so much that they have a giant truck with a bunch of stickers all over it, because that guy is going to be too expensive, most likely, that guy or gal. So like, that's it. It's one of those things where I actually stopped referring contractors to people because they would just burn so many people over and over again, or they would get too busy and disappear, or didn't know how to scale their business and it would backfire. I think what you have to do is put as much time into finding the right deal as you do into finding the right contractor. And a lot of that's word of mouth. Go to meetups, meet with other investors who are investing heavily, ask for a referral from their contractor. If they have a good one, they will refer it. You know, the investing world becomes very nice when you're dealing with people that are successful in investing. They're willing to share, right? That's, if you are doing well, you're more willing to share your information, share your people, than if you're struggling. So, you know, or you think you found this hidden gem. So, you know, that's one method. A lot of people become their own contractor, start their own contracting company. I've heard of those methods, and it's certainly something I'll explore someday. But until you get to the point that you can afford that and this becomes your full-time thing, I think it's just finding that needle in the haystack, that guy that's been around long enough, but hasn't gotten overly expensive because they've managed their business correctly and they've built a strong enough reputation that people are willing to refer them. They have assets. This is a big thing I learned early on. If your contractor shows up in their Subaru, that's not an asset. That's under their own name. But if they show up in a truck with their name on it, more than likely their business has assets. If they have plenty of tools, their business has assets. If they have a location, their business has assets. Those are the people that have things to lose, so they generally will not screw you over, right? Not all the time, but you're basically mitigating risk by finding the person that has more to lose, right? So, you know, and that doesn't go for across the board. I have found a good contractor that shows up, you know, in a regular car, and, you know, he's a good contractor. He hasn't burned me, but that's just kind of a general rule of thumb is you have to think about it this way. If you have to sue that contractor, what do they have worth suing for, right? Most contractors just have a contractor's license and they get some insurance and they have their tools. If they disappear with your money, they can just file bankruptcy on their LLC and you're out, right? And that's happened to me. It's happened to investors I know of. So protect yourself, put as much time into finding the contractor as you do into finding a deal. Even more so, the contractor to me is the most important part of the equation.
Okay.
Yeah, great question though. Anyone else? Nope.
I do, actually. Hi, I'm Kira.
Hi.
So my question is, if you want to go the route of doing the multifamily, it's your first property, you want to live in one unit and rent out the other. When you're doing that mortgage process, is it the same, or would the mortgage lender kind of take into consideration that second unit as income?
Correct. So this is actually a perfect example. I just had a client who came to me and she was looking for a home, but she was in a situation where she could buy a multi-unit, and her lender gave her a pre-approval up to 180. And I asked her, well, what are you looking for in a home? And when she told me what she's looking for, I'm like, there's no way we're getting that for 180 in this market, not in the areas you've listed that you want to be in. So I said, let's get creative. Have you considered a multifamily? And she said, well, I can't find a duplex for 180. I'm like, well, you can't, but your lender will, when you go to a lender, they have to consider 75% of the income that comes in off of the other units towards your mortgage payment in the underwriting. So if you buy a $300,000 duplex or a $400,000 triplex, right? Or a $500,000 quad, whatever the rents are from the 3 other units, the 2 other units, or the 1 other unit, the lender has to consider 75% of that towards your monthly mortgage payment, right? So in this case, this client was looking at a $180,000 home or mortgage payment with the rates where they are, where it's going to be $1,200 a month, $1,300 a month. We ended up finding her a duplex for $260,000. The mortgage payment was going to be $2,000 a month, and the first floor unit was paying $1,200 a month. So she qualified based on her regular qualification. She's actually paying less to live in this unit than she would have if she bought a single family unit, a single family property. And she's actually talking about living in the first floor unit and renting out the second story unit, which is a bigger unit that she can make close to $1,500 a month on. So now she's spending $500 to $700 a month on her mortgage. That's less than she's paying in rent on her 2-bedroom apartment. That's half of what she's paying in rent on her 2-bedroom apartment. She bought that property with 3.5% down. She's doing the K-fit. So she's probably going to bring no money to the table. She now has a property that's worth $260 versus a property that she could have bought for $185. The property has equity. There's income off of it. And if she ever moves out, the mortgage is more than paid for and she's making profit. So the lender does have to answer your question, yes, the lender does have to consider up to 70 or 75%. I'm pretty sure it's 75% of the rental income from the property towards your underwriting. And in that buyer's situation, her approvability went from a 180 to a 260 because of that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. All right, so I think I've covered a good amount. I appreciate everyone joining in. I will drop my email or team's information in the comments. If anyone ever wants to reach out, feel free. We appreciate your time, and thank you for coming. Have a great night.